All right, everybody. Welcome back to a lifetime of conversations.
I'm Rob.
And I guess that leaves me being Dave still. So today is a look up into the great beyond, and what sparked me to want to do this is the other night. I was like last week, and I'm driving around, and I don't talk about what I do, but I'm driving around. It's nighttime. Mm-hmm. I look up, and I see a meteor going up. Mm-hmm. We call it a rocket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny because it's clearly going up, like diagonally upwards. But if I always imagine if that was a meteor coming down, it'd be the last thing we saw. Because if it was big enough to see it like that, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
Right. But I've seen more rockets living here in Florida in the last 3 years than I have ever seen in my entire life, and it's because they launched them almost every month. Mm-hmm. Like SpaceX is launching out of Kennedy or Cape Canaveral at least every month or two. Yeah. Whether it's the satellites for the satellite, what the hell's a Starlink? You're always launching something, right? And it puts me in awe because you can't miss it. Like a black sky, there's planets, there's stars, and then there's a rocket going up into space. And it was just a huge ball and the tail, and it's going up, and then you can see. Actually, the moment I saw it, I jumped right to my phone. I find it live on SpaceX, on YouTube, and I'm watching it. So I'm watching it as I'm watching it, and then you watch Miko cut off, and the engine cuts off, and it just disappears in your view. But then you can finish watching it on the phone, right? So it's like I love that. There's always one of my favorite things. But that's what kind of sparked me to write this a while back, because it's not the first rocket I saw. But so one of the most exciting things that I found lately, and it's not as exciting as most people think, but I guess it's the fruits that will come from all of these years and years and decades beyond. Osiris Rex. Osiris Rex was basically, I guess you call it a spacecraft. It was a spacecraft that was launched in 2016 on September 8th, right? Mm-hmm. A long time ago. It took 7 years to get there. It went to a rocket. It went to the asteroid Benu, basically, and this is an American return sample, and it went and dropped this like bucket, smashed, kind of bumped into the asteroid, grabbed the sample, pushed back, and then came all the way back to Earth, with the sample. Mm-hmm. And it's not like it hasn't been done before. Japan did it, I believe, and there was a couple of other ones. Europe had one, and there was a couple. But this was the largest sample ever returned, and it was a lot. It was almost like 4 times the amount that they thought they were going to get. They got big chunks, they got powder, they got,
But they shared it with all those other countries.
And they definitely share it. I mean, we usually get first dibs, and then they pass off because, of course, that's the point of science, is to give it out, But and it's funny because I watched it take off in 2016, and you don't really think about it because you're like, it's going to take 7 years. I'm not going to remember this. And then 7 years goes by, and you totally forget, and you're like, oh, shit, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot it was up there. Like, I don't follow space that much. Like, there are people that track it, and they're like, where is it now, and what is it doing? It's like, it's flying through space, really boring, like it's not doing anything. It didn't get there yet. It only does something when it gets there.
Yeah.
But, back then, it took off on an Atlas V, a Centaur rocket. And it's funny because they almost, I don't even think they use those anymore. I'm not really sure. But nowadays, they use, much more progressive things, a lot of the Falcon Heavies and the Falcon 9s, because they're simple and easy. But you don't realize, like, back then, so that whole rocket was just completely thrown into the ocean after this thing went up, But
they were disposable.
Right. I mean, and it's funny because almost all other rockets are disposable besides SpaceX nowadays. It's still like they're trying. We're going to get there eventually, but it's still just a norm. But it was a stunning launch. It was flawless. It all worked perfectly, and it's beautiful, just like every other launch. They should be good. So this thing for seven years, flying through the space, 89 million kilometers from Earth.
Wow.
And it has this like giant bucket on the front. It looks like a colander with a top on it, and it just like kind of bumped into it, collected some shit as it hit. and then backed off and flew back to Earth. And why I talk about this now is because it landed about a month or two ago, and it was amazing. It landed in Utah, and it comes in a capsule, just kind of like the same capsule the Russians use when they land people. It's like that dome shape with the heat shield on the bottom, parachutes down.
Parachute.
Yeah, pretty standard. Like it works, so they keep it going. But it was just amazing. It enters Earth. It enters Earth at like 27,000 miles an hour. Because it's really small and it's not like a big rocket that slows down and has boosters. This thing really. I don't know if they have retro boosters that slow it down, but they use mostly the parachutes. But because there's no people on it, it could smash into the Earth and
it doesn't
it's
matter.
fine. It's not going to matter. It landed pretty softly too, but it was just amazing. And they got just a big chunk, man. I don't remember. I can't remember if I wrote it down exactly how much they got, but the sample collected was a lot more than they thought. Like, there were big chunks and small pieces, and, they basically were doing that to test the theory, and, it tells them a lot more about the rocket, the asteroid itself, water content, metal composition, and all that, and probably testing for future asteroid collection and mining and, in the far future. But it was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
I wonder what they're gonna find.
Yeah, and I know they did as probably as of this time they probably found more information. It takes so long to go through that data.
Yeah.
Like, and whether they're doing spectrographs or spectroanalysis or I don't know all the scientific crap that makes now that they have it in their hands. And it's funny because it took them days just to clean room it. Because, they don't want any outside bacteria and any outside influence to corrupt it. So they put them in these, like those radioactive chambers with the gloves.
No, right. Homer Simpson.
Yeah, kind of. Or like when my daughter was born a preemie and you have to change the diaper that way. Right. That's what you have to do. You can't touch a preemie because they're underdeveloped. Right. So you got to change the diaper with the little things. Same thing. But, so, and I always get, even if when I talk about it with someone, they're like, well, what do they do that for? And, what do they want to know? There's lots of stuff. Number one, we've never done that before. Isn't that enough? Half the time, that's the point of exploration. Mm-hmm. Even if we're not the ones doing it personally, hundreds of scientists built this thing and sent it up, right?
Right. Yeah. So why did we do it? I don't know. Why do kids put firecrackers in frogs' butts?
Yeah. Why do kids put Legos in their nose? Because they can. There's a hole. Let me stick something in there. So it's pretty much the same. Look, there's space. Let's fly there. Yeah. But when you ask them the real questions, they'll tell you. The formation and evolution of the solar system. That's what they're really looking for, because those asteroids would basically be remnants of old planetary collisions or preformed planets that got destroyed. Now you're talking, billions of years ago. Mm-hmm. So if they can figure out core compositions and stuff like that, and it's far above any of our pay scales for the most part, But in the future, it all leads to more data, more information, more and the initial stages of planetary formation, the source of organic compounds, that led to the formation of Earth. Because I'm telling you, that day, I hope I'm alive. I hope I'm alive the day we do find something on another whatever, planet, moon, some type of life. And not going to be the guy in the spaceship, right? It's going to be, microbial or whatever.
Probably.
Right? But they will find something eventually alive. And then they'll compare the DNA of that to the DNA of Earth. Mm-hmm. And if it's not the same, that's the biggest thing we have ever discovered in human history.
Yeah, that's aliens.
If it's the same as Earth, that's the biggest thing we've ever discovered in human history. It doesn't matter what the answer is. It'll just be epic. So, a lot of that has to do with it. Signs of water. The water is a big deal. Because,
where there's water, there's life.
Well, not so much on the asteroid, but the idea that if there's water on an asteroid, that they're mineable, they're usable. If we do eventually come up with a way to extract or collect and return, we would be able to use it or something. Yes, also where water is life.
Like bottled water's not expensive enough.
Right. Bottled space water. $18,000 a bottle.
Might kill you.
Or whether it's not even just the water. Hydrogen, they'll extract the hydrogen for fuel as well as the water for air and/or water and/or fuel. But yeah, those are the general reasons, and it wasn't exactly the most exciting thing ever. And it's funny because people always they make it sound so exciting because
they have to.
Space scientists are excited about that shit.
Yeah.
When you really think about it. The 7-year wait, if you can just forget about it and then come back to it and go, oh, yeah, wow, oh, okay, so it worked. But they don't know it's not. They don't know it's going to work for 7 years. Like these people are sitting biting their nails on front of a. Like they have to go to work every day, tracking it, making sure. I'm sure they're doing other things, but making sure. Okay, it's still flying. We still got a few more years. The closer it gets, and then they're biting their nails, just trying to wait to see if this 7 years of my life was worth this bucket of space rock.
Don't get a flat tire, please. Don't get a flat tire. So it took 7 years there, and then another 7 years back, or 3.5?
No, I think it was 3 and 3. It was a 7-year journey
round trip. Okay.
Yeah, because I, that's a good question.
Yeah, because that would be 14 years.
Yeah, no, it wasn't 14 years. It was 2016. So it launched in 16. Do the math. I'm not that good. So yeah, wherever they total it, because if it didn't come back at all, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I'm pretty sure there's a difference in speed going and coming, and I don't know what that is. I would imagine that it's less coming back because there's less push. Because they'll usually slingshot sometimes around planets or moons for gravity assist.
But there's not enough gravity on that asteroid.
No, but that's also something that I'm glad you mentioned that in a sense, because I would say almost about a month ago from today, or a couple of weeks, they launched Psyche out to a metal asteroid. That's, I want to say it's somewhere in the belt. Between Mars and Jupiter. There are, a certain asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. But they launched Psyche off, a Falcon Heavy. Now, this time it's the rocket that actually landed, right? So, you go back 7 years later, and we fixed that. We don't throw the rocket. We didn't throw the rocket away. We reused it because now we have that tech. But this is pretty much the same thing, except Psyche went to a metal asteroid. Now, they know it's metal through... it's hard for me to even understand it, but the idea is the way microwaves bounce off of it, have a different frequency and density and stuff like that, and shininess, the light and reflection. But we only speculate that through math and what we see through observation, right? Now they're going to go there, so now they'll know. But like you said, when you said the gravity, because it's metal, it'll have
more mass,
and it'll be heavy. Right, it'll be heavier. It'll have more gravity in itself. But they have a magnometer. I think I'm saying that right. Basically, it detects magnets. The difference of the magnetic field that's coming off of the asteroid, but we can't detect that from Earth. So that's another reason why are we doing this? We can't mine it. Why are we doing it? Well, let's test this new system.
Check our math.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's actually to basically prove the math right. And plus, kind of stuff is cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Launched out of Cape Canaveral. It was pretty bad. Both boosters, it was great because they land the boosters as well as the rocket. So like the boosters both land pretty much simultaneously. This one landed slightly before the other, but it just And what's crazy is that this asteroid was discovered in 1872. So in our version of prehistoric scientists is looking through a telescope and discovers this thing, over 150 years ago, give or take, right? And now we're flying a spacecraft.
We're visiting it.
Right. If you went back 150 years before he discovered that, there was no telescope, let alone spacecraft to even think of. But that's why I look at the jump in technology for the future. Do you think he would he found this thing? I don't remember who it was. I forget his name. But you think he's one day we'll go there? That wasn't on their mind. They didn't even think of that. They actually probably thought that was impossible. No, there's no way. We can see it, but we'll never get there.
Yeah.
And truthfully, we won't. But
that's like Christopher Columbus saying, "Wow, I wish I had a cell phone so I could call the Queen and let her know I'm in, I'm in America."
Where's GPS now?
India.
Yeah. This one too. I'm not sure how long this one was going to take. I don't remember. I watched the whole thing on it, and it's a lot of technical stuff, and and again, they're just excited it left. But it's another long journey. It's between Mars and Jupiter. So any SpaceX crash takes at least 9 months to a year to get to Mars.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they're taking a long route because they're doing another gravity assist, so it might take 2 or 3 years just to even get there, and then come back. So you factor in 6 or 7 years, maybe.
Wow.
And it's funny because we don't we're like dog years when it comes to space.
Yeah.
When you say your dog is 11, and how many is that dog years? They're 11. Why does it have to be human years?
It's space years
matched into dog years. It's just because they generally live to 14. So 11 is 82. Great. Or whatever, 74.
But that's why it's so cool living in Florida. I mean, you get to see these launches all the time because it's it's a perfect place for us to launch these things.
Yeah. Coastal, close to the equator, close enough, close as you're going to get here anyways. They do it in Texas too for the same reasons, closer, to the equator.
Yeah, that's
weather's warm. They don't have to worry about
Florida.
ice and rain and snow, which would devastate launch rockets,
Absolutely.
And they have a hard enough time as it is. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with space. Like, and it's only going to get so much more exciting. The Artemis program is launching. The astronauts have been chosen. I'm following this too. In 2024, this year coming up, they're going to launch men to the moon. Now, they're not going to land on the moon. They're going to do the same thing that the test Artemis 1 did. They're going to basically put the people on the capsule, test the whole system of orbiting the moon, flying around, getting the trajectories and all that, and then, do all the testing on the men. They want to see what the radiation levels are like, how long they can stay up there, test the new systems. And I can only imagine what, like an Artemis ship or spacecraft capsule is going to look like compared to what they flew up in 1960, right? 69. Right? Like they had like dials and whistles and bells and like lights that lit up and flashed and toggle switches. Toggle switch. There's no toggle switches. They're flat screen televisions and touch screens and special space gloves that can touch screens.
Space gloves.
Well, they do that, because that was a big deal. They're like, they have to be able to touch a touch screen. I learned this at the gun range in the winter when it's really fucking cold and you don't get gloves that you can touch a touch screen with. You can't use your phone, so you have to take a glove off and you're freezing. And
that sucks.
But it seems stupid and silly. But
get
the
a stylus pen.
I guess you could, but where I gotta find the pen. I'm freezing. My hands are shaking. Yeah, Artemis 2 is gonna be pretty spectacular, and it's the fact that they're sending actual astronauts. That's always a big deal. It doesn't matter. The moment you could send 1 million probes into space, send up 27 Curiosity rovers to Mars, but at the moment you stick people in there, people are like, "Ooh, go back to nail biting it."
Absolutely.
We don't want another Challenger. We don't want another fucking Apollo. No problems. Which generally don't have anymore. But
looking at this equipment in the spaceship now versus then,
right?
It's kind of like looking at the Titanic versus like one of these modern cruise ships,
Right. Oh my God, yeah. Like, could that go down and hit an iceberg? Oh yeah, but it won't. Like, they're not gonna. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Even if the guy was drunk, the GPS wouldn't allow it. Like, someone's gonna stop it. Like, it's not gonna happen. But yeah, that was the same when SpaceX launched the Dragon capsule that sent the 2 astronauts to the International Space Station on the very first time that the United States sent a private, astronauts out into space without having to ferry through Russia, because we were using all of their rockets, pretty much buying rides. Fucking the most expensive Uber on the planet.
It was really stupid.
Yeah. Well, but that was it. So now they're like, instead of taking $10 million and giving it to the Russian space, program, we'll just give it to private funders in America, even if they're commercial, and they follow all their rigorous testing. But watching Bob and Doug go up and like, you see them in the ship. It looks like a Cadillac, like the Dragon capsule. It's like slick, and actually it kind of looks like the inside of a Tesla if it were a spaceship. Like, kind of white, stark, slick. It's not like wires sticking out and, like, again, no more toggle switches and flashing lights. It's like it's practical, efficient, and futuristic. And it damn well should be. Like, I don't even know how the hell they got up there in 1969. Like, I can't even imagine. You imagine that there was a
lot of
monkey.
people say they didn't.
I know you and your moon theory.
No, I really don't have a moon theory, but a lot of people do. A lot of people.
It's asinine because I feel like it's an insult to, like, where we're at now, because, like, there's no way that they could have done that without it. Because the math was always plausible. Right. It was always the technology. And I'm going to tell you, though, you put enough money into it. That's like saying, like, I can't believe, there's no way we built the pyramids. Like, yeah, people do great things. We can, it takes a lot of money and effort and knowledge, but if you got enough backing behind it, it'll get done.
They still don't know how they built the pyramids. They have no idea.
There's speculations and enough. They did find a lot of the architects left. I think that was found recently in the last few years. They found the architects, like, instructions, like, because they had architects for the pyramids and they left, and there was many of them, and like it took 20-30 years to build the pyramids. It wasn't like it happened overnight. But they had found architects plans and notes and stuff explaining how certain things were done.
Wow,
but
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Even then, yeah, it still leads way to speculation. How did they actually move the rocks? Did they channel in through the Nile and make a levee system and float them down river? Because how did they get them to that part of it?
Yeah, because they had to move them pretty far.
But does it at this point? This is what I think about. Yes, we could speculate on this for another 100 years without actual definitive proof. But all I know is that in another 100 years from now, we will have irrefutable data, video, pictures, and proof that we did this now. From there is no more of that tablets in the sand. We have data. We have irrefutable evidence that these things happen. Data that holds on for years. At least, you know what I'm saying? It's not like a tablet. It's not going to get lost in time. Unless there's some kind of...
This technology could get lost in time. What happens if there's a mass human extinction and all the people smart enough to build the machines that can read this stuff are gone?
Fair enough, and that's the most extreme of all extremes. So at that point, you'd have to lose every smart person in the world, where even most non-incredibly smart people could figure it out, but you'd need the technology to read it. And that's why they also hard copy most things somewhere anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just think that there's still... I don't think they're going to... It's the year 2150. They're not going to be going, I wonder how they did this. They're just going to, or, whatever, pull it up. And they're going to be like, well, here's the historical data of how they did it. Here's the formulas. Here's everything. Here's the math. Here's the science. Here's the engineering. Here's the blueprint. And they're going to go, okay.
Oh,
it's primitive.
They're going to Google it.
Yeah, whatever their version of Google is. Psych it, because I'm pretty sure we'll be connected up to computers by then. Some kind of symbiotic relationship.
Oh, boy.
But, man, that's where we're going.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about science, is that all these people across the globe, they don't care that you're an American and that they're a Russian.
No, and they shouldn't. And I wish countries could think like that.
Yeah, but the people that have the power to blow up and destroy the world, they'll kill each other. While the scientists are like, hey, let's try to figure out this.
Let's work together.
Let's work together.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that it's like a complete opposite. It's redundant in a lot of ways. You guys are fighting while they're trying to work. And they're trying to keep the politics out of it. Because Russia and the United States would be a good example, because they both love their countries. Mm-hmm. And they're proud of their countries, and they're proud of what they can do. And then they have to work together. But they don't really fight about it because they don't care. They leave the politics aside, and they get done what needs to get done.
At the end of the day, they want to make sure that they get off of this thing alive.
Yeah. Yeah, Artemis would be fun. Artemis, I will definitely have a thing done for that, because that's going to be exciting. Couldn't think of anything else, because everything else, they launch stuff all the time.
Yeah, they do. I think it's really cool that we get to see it,
I would love to take a trip down there. My biggest fear is that you get 2 days off and you're like, I'm going to go see a rocket launcher.
And it gets canceled.
Yeah, you drive all the way down to Cape Canaveral and they scrub it. And they're like, well, it's going to happen next Thursday. And you're like, fuck, I can't come back here next Thursday. I can't get a hotel for a week and wait for you. Mm-hmm. Even though it's a 4-hour drive, that's still, I need 2 days off, just to get it. And what time are they launching? Is it an early launch, a late launch, a mid-launch? Where do you park?
Do you tailgate?
Long tailgate. You got to be at least a mile and a half, 2 or 3 miles away, to watch it. And then the sonic booms. Oh, it's crazy when the SpaceX heavies come down. You hear the sonic booms, and it was crazy because they come down. There was 2 of them coming down at the same time, and one boom came through, and you hear the cutout on the mic, and then the. And then they were like, whoa, did you hear that sonic boom? And boom! And then another one comes through. And oh, the other one, did you feel that? I certainly felt that, Bob.
Let's go to the replay.
Yeah. There's no time for replays. We'll watch that later. That's got to be something.
See, what happened back in, the late 1990s. I was in bed, and all of a sudden I hear this it sounded like a car crashed into the side of the house.
Okay. Concorde?
I don't know what it was.
No, they wouldn't fly it. They wouldn't fly it over the United States.
But
not over land.
It blew me out of my bed. I was outside running around. It's 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking around to see where this car is that crashed into the house. So I go to work the next day, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, that was a sonic boom." I'm like, in West Palm Beach.
Yeah, I guess it could have been from a military plane, B-50, one of those military jets.
Yeah.
Could be from a rocket. No, but it wouldn't be here. The rocket too close. Meteorite coming in would do it, but then again, you'd know a meteorite hit if it made a sonic boom loud enough to hear it.
Yeah, it was loud. Holy crap.
That's why I figured it might, like, at that time, I know the Concorde was still flying. They canceled that, too. Another thing, like, we can have a jet that flies supersonic. That's no problem. But can you have a jet that flies supersonic over land? Not really, because it blows out windows and the sound is absolutely incredible. They only allowed it to fly over the ocean because it's stupid loud. They're actually working. I just looked at this the other day. They're working on a new one, like that has like something like 40 or 50% less sound, just through aerodynamics of the plane itself. Not really the change, I think, so much in the engine. It's still
Yeah,
gonna
I
break the
heard
sound
about that
barrier.
a while ago, actually.
Yeah. Which again, that's like they're like it's a good idea, but if you don't have the technology to make it work right, we have to put this on hold. And you can't spend millions of dollars. And who has like that kind of money? Like who really needs to get to China, like really, 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 really fast? Like not many people, right? So like sheiks and billionaires, right, and stuff like that. But they got their own private jets, and they just take an extra day. They don't care. Yeah. The idea like that, do we really need that? I guess. Yeah.
I mean, how long did it take for the Concorde to go from New York to London?
We'd have to look it up, but it normally takes. It's not actually that long on a normal plane because it's only like 4,000 miles away across the ocean. So I mean, if you matter, instead of 4 hours, maybe it took an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It cut the time in half or something. But again, you quadrupled the price just to get there a little bit faster. Like that's what I was saying. It's
That's
not
all
like
the swimsuit models and all of that kind of stuff. Those are the ones that
super high end, like. And again, if you think about it too, back then maybe there wasn't as much communication. The internet was still in its infancy. You couldn't just video conference with someone. Like instead of flying all the way to fucking London, I can just Zoom call them, right? Or do the stuff. You can remote contact. Even a phone call doesn't do justice. They had video conferencing back then, but it wasn't what we had now.
No.
It was much more rudimentary.
And anybody can do it anywhere at any time.
Right. Like, and we get it free on Messenger. Right. So it's not even like you have to pay for some special thing. Yeah. But the idea is like, that's why I said, do we really need it? Like, I don't know. And they're going to make it anyway. They're going to do it just to make it, even if it doesn't work. They may not make it commercially, but the military would certainly use it for something.
Hell yeah.
Like a quieter subsonic. They're like, yeah, we'll take 2.
Yeah, right.
And can you slap some missiles on there for whatever reason? Gatling gun.
We're going to go kill some people. Shh.
But only if they shoot at us first.
Yeah. Hey, they shot
or
at
if they send a weather balloon into our space.
God. A balloon. Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, I know I get excited about space and I talk about it, but it's like funny. Like when you're not like really, really into it, you could talk all day, but it is kind of dull. Like you have to pick and choose and you have to kind of get excited and see the understandings of it because it really isn't that exciting.
Right.
Well, one day it will be. I can't wait to watch people on the moon. Like, what are the moon people doing? And you just pull it up on your phone and, like, moon people live. This guy's, like, sleeping in his little moon cot, and we're like, look at him.
They'll have their own webcam.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, how many people would pay for that? Like, and most likely, most of it will be free.
Yeah.
Just through NASA. But if you charge people, oh, my God, people would pay.
Of course.
I just want to look up at the moon because it's one of the few things we can actually clearly see and be like, there are people there right now. Yeah. There's a guy eating a moon sandwich, a moon pie on the moon.
Moon
right? Pie. Sleeping in his moon cot. That's going to be fun. So hopefully we'll live long enough to see that.
Yeah.
What they say, 2030 by the end of Artemis, because that'll be Artemis 4. Because after 2, the astronauts fly around. They don't actually land, and they fly around and come back. Artemis 3 would be where they launch it should be, again, allegedly, air quotes, where they launch all of the materials to start the bases. They always send that shit first. Right. Then they get the lunar lander, and then they send the people, and they start working on it, get a rudimentary moon base set up. They'll probably end up staying for a while on the ships themselves, on the actual lunar lander themselves. Blue Origin has a contract for one. SpaceX has a contract. And actually, by the end of this month, be excited, people. SpaceX will hopefully launch the Starship again. Third attempt. Hopefully, this one doesn't blow up.
Yeah,
like the last 2, which is okay because
no one's on them.
Yeah, and he expects it. It's like, it's how they learn.
Yeah.
But, at this point, we're like, okay, we want to see this thing fly because it's the biggest spaceship ever created in all of mankind. Like, that's crazy. Well, at least the biggest reusable. Atlas was pretty big too. But then again, most of Atlas got dumped in the ocean. I really don't count that stuff anymore. I think it's a feat beyond feats. Pyramid level achievements that we can even get into space. But the fact that we can reuse is like all efforts should be towards that. At least getting towards that. Like,
saves so much money.
Right?
Yeah.
But
and who wants to build all that stuff just to have it get dumped in the ocean?
Yeah. And it's got to be rough for even like companies like SpaceX or Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic. Like, they're putting their own money. It's not even like government money.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you have nobody to blame but yourself, and then I just dumped, I don't know, $2 billion into the ocean. It's like, what? Oof. Yeah, but we did this. And it's like, yeah, but you can land them. We'll get there. So hopefully, we'll definitely talk about Starship. It's going to happen. I believe they have one more launch. No, actually, it's the end of December. They lost it, so they might have to launch next year, which will be, January or something. Mm-hmm. But they were given 3 or 4 launches. They did a static fire just the other day, and they're okay. Static fires are boring. They lock it on the pad and fire up the rockets just to make sure that all of the boosters work. Mm-hmm. It doesn't actually go anywhere. So, they're fun, and a lot of smoke and fire, but it doesn't do anything.
Right.
They test a deluge system and to make sure that all of the launch pad and everything sticks. But static fire tests are nothing compared to the thing taking off.
No. Especially when it destroys the launch pad.
Yeah, it destroyed much less of it this time. He fixed it. But that's a learning lesson, too. And he said it. He's like, well, we didn't know any better. We don't know. No one's ever made a rocket this big and put this many engines on it and taken off from this type of launch pad. So, you can't, and no matter how they fail, no matter how people look at it, a failure is a great success, especially when no one dies.
Yeah.
And when you see these things explode, I'm like, he's got the oxygen tanks right there, and all of the other stuff is all it takes is a piece of that to just fall into it. Not only did the rocket explode, but you destroyed half of your whole entire launch area. It's crazy. But yeah, so there you go. There's my excitement for space this month. That's all I got. I'm kind of tapped out. We'll come back when Starship launches and Artemis actually gets closer. I don't even know what month. They just say 2024.
Well, today's episode has been brought to you by Moon Pies.
Moon Pies and Moon Cots.
and little moon men.
I was trying, because the first Artemis, what did they send up? Moonikins.
Yeah, that's
the Moonikins. I love that. That was probably one of the best. And NASA sometimes really sucks at they have bad acronyms. They want it to work, so they just come up with a name, and sometimes it's not. The Moonikin thing, I don't know who came up with it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah. No, we're not sending people. We're sending Moonikins. What the fuck is a Moonikin? It's a mannequin that goes to the moon.
Yeah.
Hence, Moonikin.
A Moonikin. And if they go crazy in space, they become Mooniacs.
That's pretty good. Actually, one of them had boobs. She had actually almost fully functioning boobs.
Really?
Well, they mimicked the breasts of women because that's, again, they're going to send women this time, which again is a first. I hate when they say a woman and a man of color is going to the moon. It's like, you mean people?
Yeah.
Right. They're sending people.
They're
Great.
sending people.
Okay, it's not like a chimp or a hamster or some ants. They're sending people. I don't care. I want them all to be astronauts, right? And they should be women of all genders and colors and whatever.
Yeah.
But
whoever's best to do the job.
Right. But the idea that that's how far we've come from what they wouldn't have sent back then to now. And actually, women in a lot of ways are far better in space just for their slimmer build and easier. But their anatomy has to be now studied because they've never done this. Mm-hmm. Even though we've had astronauts in the ISS, we've never gone that far from the Earth's protective. The sun rays are going to be, radiation is going to be higher. So they actually made the Moonikins they were really sophisticated. They were if you went to Sears and you saw one of those mannequins wearing an outfit, and that outfit cost $3 million. No, not the outfit. The mannequin cost $3 million because it had sensors and all kinds of shit in there.
Wow. That is cool.
Yeah. Science.
Yeah. It's a verb.
It's a verb. Is it a verb? Oh,
Well,
yeah. It's a verb and a noun.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. We'll make it whatever we want. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's it. I got nothing else. We'll just ramble on about science, and I think you've had enough.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back when this thing is flying through the cosmos.
Yeah, and if you guys don't hear from us, we'll be back next year with another episode of Lifetime of Conversations. Next year meaning, a couple of weeks, 2024.
Yeah.
It is 2024, right?
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be.
Oh, it will be. Yes, indeed. Okay.
All right. Well, you guys have a happy holiday and, fly safe out there.
Peace.